right. Welcome, everyone, to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 151 here. Altai, joined this week by...
Omer.
All right. 151.
Huh?
What? Anything significant about that number? No, right? What's the 3-year mark? 56 times 3?
There's 56 weeks in the year.
Is it? I think it's 56 or 52. One of those.
Is it 52? Is it 52 number of cards in the deck?
Yeah, so it's 56 then.
Is it though?
I think so.
All right. Anyway,
let's get started.
With that, we gotta get started. We have this week. Obviously, the biggest news is Bless. It's on everyone's mind. It's been on our mind since it was first announced for Western release. Early access began this last week. So our weekly rate is, of course, tailored to Bless. And as always, Altai, take it away.
Before we get started, somebody in chat corrected me. Spatatrack says the original 151 Pokemon. So that's why when I saw 151, I thought it was a special number. Anyway,
there you go.
So yes, this week, just yesterday actually, Bless Online launched in its founders early access release. And we're going to talk a little bit about how it's been received, what we think about it, and more importantly, we want to know what you guys think about this game. It's having a bit of a controversial launch day.
Ooh.
First of all, the good. Bless, I think, proves once again that there's huge pent-up demand for like a full-fledged MMORPG. You know, people keep saying it's genre static, etc. You know, but every time we get these kind of games released, they get packed. You know, the whole gaming, PC gaming world was over this, and I got a picture here to prove it. So this is the global top sellers yesterday on Steam. Okay, number 1 is Bless Online Founders Pack Standard Edition, $40. Number 2 is Bless Online Founders Pack Collector's Edition, $150. Number 3 is Bless Online Founders Pack Deluxe Edition, $70. So 1, 2, and 3 on the global top sellers yesterday were Bless. And people say, people aren't interested in MMOs anymore.
Take a look at what I just linked to right now on the store.steampower.com/stats.
Right.
The game currently has about over 30,000 players online as well. And I do agree that this actually is really good for the industry, how much hype there is still for MMORPGs. In fact, if you watch some of the bigger streamers playing Bless, people like Shroud were all over Bless. People like even Soda Poppin was playing Bless, even though he had some negative things to say about it. But he did say something that I think we were all thinking. And he's basically saying that he was so starved for an MMORPG, and that's the only reason he's still playing this game. Like, he knows it sucks as he plays it, his personal opinion. But he was playing it because he wants another MMORPG. And I think we all... Every time one of these games is announced, I think we kind of jump into the hype wagon because we're all looking for that next big thing. We're all looking for that next big fix. For a lot of us, World of Warcraft was that experience, or Final Fantasy 14, or RuneScape for many people in the chat as well. And we're looking for that next game that can give us that same high. And just seeing how many people get excited for Bless and a lot of these, kind of random Korean games tells us there's still a market for a good PC MMORPG. For a big MMORPG. People still want to play these kinds of games. It's just that we haven't really got anything too different yet, unfortunately.
Yep, and as people in chat have mentioned, a lot of the big streamers were playing, and you mentioned Soda Poppin. Bless was actually number 2 as the most viewed game on Twitch yesterday, surpassed only by Fortnite, which is still just taking the world by storm. So there definitely is demand for MMORPGs. Now, as for how NeoWiz was prepared to handle that demand, not so well. I think they initially launched with 1 server in North America, and then it quickly crashed. So they rebooted with like 3 servers. Then that crashed within an hour of me logging in, and then there was 5, and I think now they're up to 6, if I'm not mistaken. So they I don't know what the server player limit is exactly, but I feel like unless they have the technology for it, 1 seems to be low.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of disconnects, a lot of unexpected maintenance. But today, on day 2 of the Founders launch, it's a little bit more stable. I did disconnect twice. Hopefully we will not. Hopefully the servers won't be down after the podcast. We do plan to play it a little live in the post game. But my biggest issue is it doesn't seem like they fixed any of the technical problems they were having with the previous versions. It was still stuttery, laggy, disconnects, crashes. How was your experience?
I think a laggy, unstable hot mess is the best description I can think of. Because I played the Russian version and I liked a few aspects of the game quite a bit, actually. But I in a previous podcast, a few podcasts, I've said quite a few times it was unplayable because of how bad the optimizations were. And if they didn't fix the optimizations, the NA release would be equally bad and would shut down pretty shortly afterwards. And it's sad to say that after all this time, nearly nothing has changed with the optimization. And it's still, and I'm playing with a GTX 1080. I'm playing with a top tier CPU, 32 GB of RAM. And I don't think the average player is playing with the specs I'm playing at. And I'm not getting consistent performance. I'm getting, the most frustrating thing is, forget when you're in the biggest city, when you're in the capital, and there's a ton of players on the screen, I get it. The FPS, you can deal with it, right? Because it's going to be laggy there, right? That's normal. But when you're running around the open world just killing things, and you gain these micro stutters when you move the camera, it's really frustrating. And when you click on any of the UI elements, you click M to open up your map, for example, the game just lags for 2 seconds. For 2 seconds, the game is frozen every time you open the map and every time you close the map. That's unacceptable. This is just like, it's not optimized. And actually, it really saddens me because I streamed the game within 30 minutes of it, the servers opening up the day it came out, and my tutorial was pretty bugged out too. So what happened was, first of all, my first time through the tutorial, it just didn't work. Like, no matter what ability I casted, my quest progress would not complete. I had to actually restart the game and then redo the tutorial, and then it worked the second time. But the sad part was, your tutorial has you casting a spell that doesn't even exist. The tutorial will say like cast like poisonous, like something, right? It would tell you to cast a spell called poisonous something, but you don't actually have a spell called that. Literally the translations between the quest text and the in-game skill translations don't even match up. So the game is telling you to cast a spell that you don't have. I mean, there's only one spell, like 2 spells you have anyway, so you can figure it out through trial and error. But this tells you a lot about the game and the developers behind the game. And mucho thanks to the sub, though, by the way, before I forget about that. But it really tells you that the developers, it's like, have you ever written like an essay for college or high school, right? And,
yes.
and you wrote the essay and like you feel really embarrassed about it. Like, man, this essay fucking sucks. And you don't even want to proofread it because you know if you proofread it, you're going to realize it sucks, right? So there's like, if I don't proofread my own essay, I won't feel bad about it. That's what I feel like the NeoWiz team went through when they released Blast. Because if anybody at NeoWiz in the localization department, if anybody even played this game, they would have realized that within the first 5 minutes of the game, the translations don't even, like, first of all, nobody cares about the translations in the actual story, right? Nobody cares about that, right? But the skills aren't even translated well. In fact, a lot of the skills, like, you don't even know what the skills do because they're not well translated. And this was always a problem with the Russian version because there was an English patch for it, and you could never tell what the spells actually did. And you would think they would fix this, but they didn't. The descriptions for the quest don't match up with the skill names. Nobody played through this. It's so painfully obvious. And it's embarrassing, frankly. It shows how little they cared about the game. It's really frustrating because they said they would fix the optimization. They said they would localize the game. I mean, they spent over $60 million on this game before it even launched in English, and it's a really sad launch.
Yeah, and I had the same problem you had. In the tutorial, it was telling me to equip a certain skill, but they phrased it as mount. Like, you got to mount your skills. So it's kind of interesting. And the skill name they gave me did not match the actual one in my skill log. So I had that issue as well. And I basically said in the weekly raid, they honestly just phoned in this localization. They gave it no effort. Well, you had a good link about the one of your skill descriptions.
I shared, look at the skill description. This is a pretty popular meme right now in the game's subreddit. But I challenged anyone to tell me what the skill does. So show it off on the stream for a moment. Okay. So anyone out there knows what this skill does, please let us know because I don't think anyone knows right now. But this just shows you how, like the few things you have to translate, right? Literally, nobody cares about the voice acting. They have voice acting. It's pretty awful in some scenes, but nobody really cares about that, right? Just all the budget that went to voice acting should have been diverted into localizing the UI. The only thing that people care about with localizations is the UI. Who cares about the quest text? Who cares about the voice acting? Make sure the UI and the skill descriptions make sense. That's all you had to do. NeoWiz, that's all you had to do. Why are you paying people to do some subpar shitty voice acting that nobody cares about? We're going to increase the cooldown, but further reduce the cooldown. This is a buy-to-play game. This is a AAA. They spent $60 million in this game, and this makes no sense.
I think it's worth repeating that point. So I don't think a lot of people out there know that this isn't just a game that randomly came out this year. This is a 2015 game that's been in development for years, and NeoWiz spent how much was it?
Over 60 million.
Over 60 million before the Western version was even like even a year or two ago it was at 60 million. It's not a new number. So this is a hugely budgeted game, and this is what we have as a description for this for a skill.
It's unacceptable. I actually linked it to my friend, and he gave me a pretty funny answer. Dude, it's obvious what this does. It increases your Vanguard. I'm like, wait, it is called Vanguard Strengthening Stage 1. So I guess he's not wrong, whatever that is. But look, And the thing is, the shitty UI and the shitty launch and all these shitty problems can be overlooked to a degree if it was free to play.
Yeah.
But when you launch a buy to play game, there is a standard you're setting for yourself. Like a lot of things get a pass for being free to play. I mean, also in the game's defense, the few things they did sort of right so far is the cash shop doesn't really seem too pay to win at the moment. Like there's really not too much controversial stuff in the cash shop. We talked about some of the PvP flagging stuff and how stupid it is, kinda. But there's nothing obviously or blatantly pay to win in the cash shop, which is good. So they got that part kind of figured out. But the fact that this game launched with how poorly optimized it is, how disgustingly low effort the localizations have been, is really sad. Especially after all this time when, you know, if anyone at NeoWiz played this game, they would know it's unoptimized. And like, you have to fix that. It's built on Unreal Engine 3, which is already outdated. I think Unreal Engine 4 came out in 2015 or 2016. Unreal Engine 4 has been out for years already.
Yeah,
the game runs DX9.
Yeah, Unreal 3 came out in 2007. DirectX9 is originally from 2002. We're now, by the way, the most recent version of DirectX I think is 12. So a little bit behind the times there. And I think actually that's the old engine and DirectX version is probably why they're having so little luck optimizing the game, even for people with high-end hardware like us. Because I don't think the software versions they're using can actually utilize that new hardware. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a cap on how much there's all these new features in these graphics cards and CPUs, like hyper-threading or whatever. And these older software that was made before these new features can't actually use them unless it's patched afterwards.
And well, you show another funny translation, which is you've become 8 level. And it's really sad. Like, this wouldn't be a big deal if the game was free to play. And honestly, like, the fact that they actually paid voice actors to voice act some of the scenes, they spent money on this. Like, they probably spent hundreds of thousands of dollars localizing this game, which is a joke because if they hired one guy who can speak Korean, who plays, he could have manually translated all the skills in the game. This is not such a big, deal. Like, they could have actually machine translated all the quests and nobody would care. But if you have to properly translate skill descriptions and skills and UI elements. That's the most important thing. People have to know what they're doing. And right now, like, you're guessing what some of these skills do, which is unacceptable for a game. It's unacceptable. For a buy-to-play game, you pay $30 to play this game? People are paying $150 to play this game. And it's so poorly done. It's such a slap in the face for people that, we're looking forward to playing this. And they've read all the interviews out there from NeoWiz about how they're listening to player feedback and all this other stuff. But, what's actually pretty funny, maybe one of the reasons, like, I remember reading some of the FAQs and the Q&A sessions with NeoWiz, right? And they were all in broken English, too. Maybe that should have given us kind of a, like an alarm bell. Because whoever's localizing the Korean to English on the NeoWiz website and on Steam, it was really broken English there as well. So maybe that should have told us to expect this.
Yeah, there's no way they have any local, native speakers working over there because you've become level X when you level up. Doesn't make sense if you grew up in America or Canada or whatever. Somebody in chat linked the Lazy Peon video. I think he did a good video, basically explaining his problems with the game. And I did embed it in the weekly raid. It's worth watching. He basically says, "Don't buy it. It's not a great game." But not to trash on it too much, we will play it in the post game so you guys can see what it looks like yourselves. Okay.
There's a few other things I want to touch upon the actual gameplay.
Sure.
Because I did really like the dungeons in the Russian version of Bless. We did the first, I think, 2 or 3 dungeons. They were a lot of fun. They were challenging. And actually, the few changes I've seen, I think, between the Bless Online in America and the Russian version, the combat feels a lot easier. I played the same class. I'm playing a mage in the current version of the game, and I played a mage in the Russian version. And it feels like I just do a lot more damage. Like, a lot more damage. Like, I can kill enemies in mass now.
They made it easier. Haven't you heard?
Yeah, yes, they made it. It feels like they made it a lot easier. Like, not even a little bit. Before, the way the combat worked, it was more traditional, basically. Like, now they're calling it rhythmic combat and all this other weird, like, combo systems. And it's like, it just made it a lot easier. Before, it was more traditional MMORPG. Like, you use so many skill slots. You can cast spells, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a small rotation going. As a mage, I think I had, like, 1 or 2, like, insta-cast abilities. And I would, like, of course, start my combo with, like, a slow cast fireball and then follow it up with an insta-cast, right? But with the current version of the game, I had, like, 4 insta-cast abilities. And there's no point of ever using the long cast ability because it does less damage than my insta-cast abilities. It just, the balance doesn't make any sense. And the combo system is nonsense because there's really only, like, one viable, like, combo I would always use. As a fire mage, there's one combo which is really strong. I cast 3 insta-cast abilities in a row, and they're unbelievably strong. And everything else is, like, so trash tier compared to it. It just seems like there's no balance either in terms of the combat.
Yeah, I knew at the time, even over a year ago now, when we played the Russian version, and we heard that they were trying to make the combat more action oriented because it was tap targeting before. They should have just left the tap targeting. It's so silly the way it has now. Here's how my class works now. Instead of having like 5 keys or 5 skills on a hotbar, I just click R. I click 1 to attack with my first skill.
Yep.
Then instead of pushing 2, 3, 4, 5 for my next, my rotation, I just click R, 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 R. So my whole fight is 1, R, 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 1, R, R, R. So how is that different than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Like, it's not. Like, it's still tap targeting. It's just, instead of clicking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm clicking 1 and then chaining R, 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 R to it. Like, it's the same thing. I don't get it. There was no point. The only thing I can think of to be really to be uncharitable here is they didn't actually want to change the combat because they knew they couldn't. So they just did this absurd little change and sold it as rhythmic combat to kind of bait and switch people into trying it again. It's the same.
And actually, some of the action combat changes, that they want to make in the game aren't even in the game today. Like there was actually some people asking about it, but I think only the Berserker class has the quote unquote action combat that they kind of promised before.
Oh, that was the class I played last time in Russian version. Maybe I'll make a new one of those and see what actually happened.
The difference actually is. And beyond that, I mean, in terms of other gameplay stuff, the UI is kind of shit. I mean, I do recommend actually watching the Lazy Piano video on it. I think he's got some really good, like, really fair criticisms of the game. I think the one thing he says he thought the visuals are kind of soulless, and while it's not stylish, I don't really mind the graphics too much. But I think he's a really fair criticism, and I do recommend you watch that video because he made a pretty good complaint about the game's UI as well, and it's actually really bad. The UI takes up such a large part of the screen, and the menu is just everything's really hidden. And I think the same problem with the Russian version is that the game's auction house is kind of like on this web browser that you have to launch in game, and it's just like very poorly designed, and it doesn't even work half the time. The first time I went to the auction house in the game, it just didn't work for the first 3 times I tried. I just gave up. Yeah, I just stopped trying to use it.
It's just a white screen when you launch the auction house. Yeah.
But with the most remarkable thing that I kept saying as I played the game, because I played last night as well, I'm going to play probably after the podcast as well, is that it's remarkable to see how many players are online. There's over 30,000 people playing Bless right now, and they've all paid money to play it. And when you see the world, it's really sprawling. There are people everywhere. Like, it just feels like a world that's alive, and it tells you that the MMORPG genre still has so much interest and so much demand out there for a good MMORPG, and people are actually giving this game quite a bit of a fair, more of a fair shake than perhaps it deserves, because there are people even like past the beginning area, and people are still playing, and it's unbelievably packed. Oh, yeah. So it's interesting to see that. It's interesting to see that just how busy the game is with all of its flaws.
Yeah, and I will keep playing it before we completely write it off or not. But I do think that even if they get the bugs fixed, the technical things fixed, what you have here is a very traditional MMORPG that plays it safe in terms of progression, the classes, everything. And what I liked about Black Desert, which also gets a lot of hate still, is at least it was different. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least it did its own thing. Whether you liked it or not is a separate issue. But whereas in Bless, I feel is like just another generic, MMORPG. Yeah.
And look at the launch of Bless versus Black Desert Online. I mean, say what you will about Black Desert. The game launched at a cheaper price point, and the launch is actually really smooth. You had some server stability problems, but it ran really well. Like, the most frustrating thing is the optimization. So ultimately, I think even as a generic game, I think Bless could find an audience because people are thirsty for these kinds of games, and the open world is kind of different as well. It could have found a relatively sizable audience and kept it, but the optimizations are the biggest deal breaker for me. And it's so sad that a top tier PC can't play Bless, well. It's the most frustrating experience, because especially after playing Final Fantasy 14 for such a long time, and I've played World of Warcraft with Mists of Pandaria and playing these other, like ESO, for example, like in Guild Wars. These games run so well, and you really don't appreciate that until you play a game like Bless, where the game stutters every time you open a UI element, where the game crashes frequently and disconnects frequently. But it's the most frustrating thing in the world to want to play a game and play with such awful FPS and just having these micro stutters.
And okay, so someone chatted some good statement here. Okay, so we're an MMO cast. You know that 90% of these games have bad launches. Bless isn't that bad, etc. To that, I will say this: one, this game costs at least $40 to try right now, so it's not a free-to-play launch.
That's a key difference.
Okay, so you get a little more criticism because of that, higher expectations. And number two, this game has already launched 4 times. And this isn't like NeoWiz is like, okay, we're gonna put the servers up. We don't know what to expect. They launched it in Korea, they launched it in Russia, they launched it in Japan. So now it's America. Now it's here, so they should know where the pain points are going to be. Like, for example, I remember someone linked me a screenshot of one of the early quests where you had to right click this book on the floor to get to pick up the book, and then you'd have to wait for it to respawn if someone else did it. And there's just like 20, 50 players waiting for this book to respawn. Things like this, I feel like on your fourth launch, your server should not be crashing within 10 minutes. So again, I still played it. I'm gonna play it today. I'm just saying, with 4 chances, they could have done a little better than this launch.
Yeah, and look, I agree. You can always, look past some of the launch woes, like of the server stability. Honestly, that's not a big deal. Honestly, the server's crashing frequently. I'm not even docking off points for that. The problem is some of the fundamental issues with the game, which I'm pretty confident are just never going to get fixed. They're core parts of the game. The fact that it's built on Unreal Engine 3, it's got DX9, and they said they were going to optimize it, and it's very clearly not optimized. I'm not even talking about the crashes from the server. Obviously, very often the servers just freeze up and just things wouldn't work because the servers are laggy. That's fine. You expect that in any game launch. Whether it's a new WoW expansion, whether it's a new expansion for Final Fantasy 14, that's all kind of forgivable. That's not the problem. It's really everything else. And the combat, they made it easier. One of my favorite things about Bless was that it felt challenging and difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you lost that very quickly. And there's really no real choices, and there's no meaningful choices that I felt so far playing as a mage. It's still early on. I'm going to get to the higher level. I'm going to play the game some more. But there's some fundamental problems with the game. I think a lot of these can still be overlooked if it was free to play. But there is a bit of a higher standard when it comes to these, buy to play MMORPG. And I do wish the game luck. Obviously, we're interested in seeing the success of the MMORPG genre. I mean, I like these kinds of games. I really wish they could have done better. And it really does show the low effort with literally the first tutorial quest in the game. The first tutorial quest in the game is broken. It just shows you no one played this game. That's the most insulting part of this. And how can anyone defend that? It's beyond me.
We got a defender.
It shows they don't give any Fs.
We got a defender in chat. He's telling me to go to the .ini file and fix things myself because NeoWiz was too.
Are you kidding me? What is this, 2001? I gotta edit the .ini files to make sure it's working? Come on.
I remember in Warcraft 3, if you wanted to change the resolution to like 1920 by 1080, you had to edit it yourself because the game was so old.
.ini files.
But what? This is it's 2018, baby. All right, I'm paying $30, $40, and I gotta edit some stuff. No thanks.
Yeah, you can't expect people to edit any files anymore. All right, come on. It shows there was like a lack of. It almost feels like they want to recoup some of their investment back, and this is what it feels like because it does. Look, I feel like they could have done something with this game to make it more optimized, to make better localizations, to actually redo the game. They could have done a lot, right? But it just feels like they weren't really concerned with making this like a big success. They didn't want to invest a lot more money into this game. I feel like they're like, look, we spent $60 million in this game. Let's spend another $1 million at most to maybe polish up and repackage it and sell as a buy-to-play game, and let's recoup some of our money back. And I think they actually made a lot of money back because there's over 30,000 people playing the game right now. I'm gonna say at least 100,000 people bought it, probably more than that. Yeah. And that means they probably made at least $10 million already on the game's launch.
Think about that.
Think about them, yeah. And actually, there was a post on the game's on I think RMRPG or R-Bless about what they think about the game. No, take a look at this poll right now about how are you enjoying Bless right now? What's your current opinion at the moment about the game? And you can look at the results after you vote. It's pretty remarkable. 36% of people who voted in this poll said they've already refunded the game.
Wow,
which is pretty insane. That's a huge number for people saying they refunded the game already. And 39% saying they're enjoying the game, and other people are saying they're basically not having fun with the game or they're having problems with the launch.
Sometimes I do. I get frustrated at Valve for being slow at updating their core games like Dota 2. But this whole refund thing, I feel, is a great move for Valve. It's a really consumer-friendly move they made. So I am glad they did that.
And people are saying they're getting refunds after playing the game for over 10 hours, which is typically, usually your refund window is 2 hours. But I think, with certain cases, they made exceptions. So people are getting refunds after some time, which I think is very pro-consumer. And obviously, we can get behind that. Yeah,
we should discuss that. If a game, I believe if it's an early access like this, even if it says, no refund, like, for example, for Bless, there's 3 Founders Packs. The $70 one and the $150 one both say no refunds for this version. But on Reddit, there are ways to actually petition Valve and get your refund, even if you bought those. So don't think, you can't get your money back. But you know what? I have I didn't pay for it, but if I don't know, for $30, $40, it's still if you wait a couple weeks, I think you might still get like $30 of joy out of it. But I'd wait. There's definitely no reason to get it now versus tomorrow. It'll be $10 cheaper. So, no recommendation, at least for now.
Yeah, it's tough to recommend paying money for this game as is right now. However, there's some hope The biggest problem is optimization. Again, if they can smooth that out, I think there's actually some you might have fun playing this game. But as is, I say it's definitely a pass. You have a good variety of classes and races. The open world gameplay is kind of nice because we've seen so many MMORPGs kind of turn to these tiny ass hallways, very small, zones. Here, it's basically a seamless open world, which is actually really cool. So it's got that going for it. It's just sad to see the difficulty's gone. The optimization is awful, and the launch problems. Hopefully, it gets sorted out in the future, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Indeed. Well, and you guys will have to wait and see us play Bless in the post game. There you go.
Any last thoughts on Bless before we move on to something else?
I think it might have hurt Air's chances, because again, Ascent Infinite Realm is another Unreal 3 MMORPG coming out this year, and I think MMORPG players are a very gullible group. Every year they get swindled by a game like this, right? Mm-hmm. But at least I think there's a cooldown period. Like now Air has to at least wait like 6 more months, right, before they can release and sell Founders Packs for $40 each. Because if they release
people forget about it. Yeah.
Exactly. They can't release now because it's too fresh on people's minds. So I think this might push Air's release back to 2019, just so there's more time between them and Bless's launch.
So one last thing I want to say about Bless. The most fun I had in the game was trolling the game's like global chat. So there's a global chat for your faction. So not global, faction chat. So where anyone in your faction you can talk to in the same window. So what happened was on the first day, obviously the game is very laggy and server problems, right? Everyone's complaining about FPS problems and the server being laggy. Everyone does, how do I fix it? How do I fix it, right? People are saying edit any file and stuff. So I said in the faction chat, if you guys type / refresh, it'll actually fix all the lag problems. It'll reload the game's files and everything will run smoothly, right? As soon as I type that, like everyone starts spamming / refresh. So easily 100 people type / refresh thinking it's going to help, right? And then I'm like, no, you guys, you got to type / refresh in all caps, obviously, and then it's going to fix it. Like that's the way it works. And then everyone types in all caps / refresh. And why isn't it working? And one guy typed / I'm gullible. So I had a lot of fun trolling the chat in the game during the how difficult and how laggy the early experience was. That's the most fun I had in Bless actually so far.
I actually got fooled by it too, but not refresh, but for / reload, because I was having trouble with a quest objective not updating, and I saw someone type in chat / reload, and I should have known it doesn't work, because then if it worked, I wouldn't see the text saying / reload. It would just reload for him. But
everyone's so desperate for a solution. Yeah,
I did it too. I did / reload. I was like, wow, that didn't work.
And what's remarkable is like an hour after I initially started the meme, people were still typing / refresh in the chat like periodically. So it's just silly that everyone is trying to everyone's so desperate to fix the problem that they're willing to type whatever random people tell them to type. And actually, one more positive and I want to say about Bless is so far I've not seen any gold farm advertisements. There's been no Chinese gold spammers in the game yet, which is remarkable considering Revelation Online had those day one, and so many other MMORPGs have them day one. So Bless Online I've not seen any spam in game for gold selling or anything like that. Dear God, mucho appreciated.
All right. Well, I think we should move on now. We had some more super data info come out today, this week, I should say, for the month of April. I know you put this news up, so you can give us a little rundown of the numbers. Obviously, the most amazing number is once again Fortnite. Give us the rundown.
It's quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. Fortnite made nearly $300 million in the month of April 2018, which is absolutely nuts.
That's crazy. And that's among all 3 platforms that's that for. No, well, I should say more than that. It's for console, PC, and iOS.
Mobile. It's not for Android just yet either, actually, just iOS. So once it launched on Android, the numbers get even bigger. And the game's not even out in China yet. But what's, I think, most interesting... before I say that, actually, League of Legends retook the #1 spot on the PC. It actually lost that spot to Dungeon Fighter Online last month, probably because of a promotion in China. So it was actually pretty interesting to see that League lost the #1 title. It reclaimed it now. But the most interesting stat is the audience for people watching Fortnite. If you scroll down, you'll see the audiences watched over 600 million hours of Fortnite in March. What? That's actually more. That's more than the next 9 games combined. More people watched. There's more hours of Fortnite watched on streaming sites than League of Legends, PUBG, Dota 2, Hearthstone, Overwatch, CS:GO, Clash Royale, FIFA, and World of Tanks combined. Which is, I think, the most mind-blowing number. That's insane.
That is insane.
It blows my mind how insane this is. It's really, and they had in the Tencent's earnings release in last week or two, they said they have over 40 million monthly active users, while League of Legends has over 100 million. But keep in mind, League of Legends has been out for about a decade, right? So 10 years, and Fortnite in under a year is already at over 40 million monthly active users, and that's not even counting the Android release, which never happened yet. And that's not even counting. That wasn't even counting mobile. That was only PC and console, and it's not even counting the Chinese release, which hasn't even happened yet either. So Fortnite is on track, I think, to pass League of Legends with the pace of growth it's seeing right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's gonna pass it this year, because I suspect of the 100 million League of Legends players, over 50 million, so over half, are in China alone.
Maybe.
Definitely. You know, I mean, how many people? So if Fortnite does even like a mediocre in China, it'll zoom past League.
But also on that list, Honor of Kings, that Chinese League of Legends like game we've been talking about on and off for a while. It still hasn't fully launched in America, but it reported record monthly numbers. It hit $185 million in the month of April as well. So this mobile game in China is making nearly $200 million a month, insanely popular, and it hasn't even quite launched fully in America yet either. And we'll see what happens when it does.
So Rage Gamer asks, do you think Epic is going to shit over Bluehole over the lawsuit? So yes, that lawsuit that they were threatening for a while now, they officially filed it. So Bluehole in Korea is suing Epic Games for, I guess, copying their game. What I think is going to happen is it will drag on for like a bit, and then Tencent is going to shut it down. Tencent's going to, because Tencent owns 40% of Epic, and now they have an investment in PUBG. They have the license to Chinese market for PUBG, which is the biggest market for PUBG, and they own an equity stake in Bluehole. So I think how this is going to shut down is Tencent's just going to buy more of Bluehole, or just pay them to, make friends, because everyone just wants to make money, baby, So I think Tencent's going to be like the mediator between these two.
What's remarkable is, though, they didn't file this lawsuit in American court. They filed it in Korean court. Obviously, we're no legal scholars over here, but obviously both PUBG and Fortnite make a lot more money in America than they do in South Korea. In fact, I think Fortnite just got licensed through NeoWiz Games, the guys behind Bless, actually. But they just, these games are huge in America. And the reason Bluehole didn't sue Epic Games in America is because they have no actual legal merit to their claims. They're suing them in Korea, where they might get more favorable rulings from Korean judges and Korean businesses and the local community there. I mean, this PUBG in Korea isn't very big. Fortnite in Korea isn't very big. It's huge in America and Europe. So it's weird to see that this is where they're taking the fight. And I think it's because they realize their chances are better to win in Korea than it is in America. But I don't think PUBG has any real. No, we did have this our own little fake court drama over this. We talked in the previous podcast. Did Fortnite copy PUBG? And I said yes, it did copy to a degree, but the way this works is you can't really copyright like these ideas. The idea of a battle royale game isn't really copyrightable. These game designs aren't copyrightable. The assets in the game are copyright. I mean, Fortnite did not steal bandage graphics, did not steal character art from PUBG. The concept of battle royale, I mean, it has existed before PUBG. It existed before Fortnite. Maybe the first battle royale was that Japanese movie called Battle Royale. Who knows? This is not a copyrightable concept. It makes no sense.
No, it definitely isn't. And in other forms of entertainment, this doesn't fly. I remember Omer and I watched a really bad movie in theaters called Olympus Has Fallen. It was about terrorists taking over the White House. And at the same time in theaters, there was a second movie with the exact same plot. These terrorists taking over the White House. I forgot what the second one was called. Bonus points if anyone in chat can name the other one. But these two are basically parallel. They came out the same year with the exact same plot pretty much. People taking over the White House. And you know what? They both, I guess, they didn't sue each other. This is just how the world works. If you got,
they both flopped. Yeah.
You can make these movies. You can't own the idea of a movie or anything.
And look at all the FPS games, especially look at all the World War II FPS games. This is nonsense that you think you can copyright that concept. So the only reason they're suing in South Korea is they're just hoping for, I guess, local courts to just favor them for being a Korean company. Yeah. I don't think the lawsuit is going to go anywhere. I don't think Epic Games feels threatened by this at all anyway. And actually, there was a fun comment. There's a person on Twitter who commentates on a lot of gaming stuff. What's his name? You follow him as well? Oof.
The guy on the guy with the little Asian guy icon?
Yeah. What's his name? Oh, I can't find it. He said maybe all the gaming companies should sue each other for copying each other, and the last one standing wins. It'll be a new form of battle royale,
Legal battle royale.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty funny concept. But yeah, I don't think the lawsuit's going to go anywhere. I think Fortnite is going to continue booming, and there's not much to stop the Fortnite hype train from hitting maximum proportions.
Yeah, it seems Chad has figured out the name. So White House down. So for fun, guys, Google White House is down, White House down, and then open a new tab and Google Olympus Has Fallen. And
same nonsense.
It's the same exact movie. It's so funny.
Yeah. we should maybe move on to another fun topic. I think you brought this to my attention about Star Citizen.
Oh.
I know it's been a topic of ongoing discussion on the MMOs.com podcast, but I think this bit of news kind of takes us to a new next level of sorts.
So when I first saw the story, I basically couldn't believe it. Okay, I saw this Reddit post called the Legatus Pack, and I read that Star Citizen has released a new pack. It costs $27,000, a bundle that includes almost all the ships in the game for $27,000. So I didn't believe it. So I clicked the link. Okay, the page opens up. It's loading, and it says not found. 404. Okay, so I'm like, okay, so it's fake, right? Then I thought maybe it's not. A couple other sites were covering it, so I'm like, no, it's not fake. It's just that they took it down. It was too much blowback, so they removed this pack, right? But no, I was wrong again. Here's the real story. It's a $27,000 pack, but you can't even see the page unless you've already spent $1,000 on that account that's logged in. So I am not even privileged enough to see this pack. You got to already spend $1,000 before you have an option of buying this package. How insane is that? Like, what? My God.
This actually sets off so many alarms. Like this, it's a very scammy thing to do, because I feel like they already figure like $27,000 is going to get a lot of blowback. But if they only advertise it to people that already spent $1,000, people that already sunk, or $1,000 into this game, they're more likely to buy it, and they kind of avoid some of the negative publicity. But I think by doing this, it really just shows like how predatory their pricing is, and how predatory the funding for Star Citizen has become, where they know the kinds of players that would buy this, and only they can see it.
Yep. It's
insane. $27,000 for some virtual JPEGs of a ship in a game that's probably never going to come out. Oh my, it's insane. And the kinds of people that defend Star Citizen, it's really blowing my mind, actually. I think 2-3 nights ago, you linked a random Star Citizen streamer, and I hopped in there, and then we were kind of asking them questions, and then some of the people in the MMOs.com Discord hopped in and started trolling them. But we didn't mean to be rude or anything, but like I jokingly said, hey, do you have the $27,000 pack? If you don't have this one, it's not even worth playing, dude. He's like, no, I don't have the $27,000 pack, but I got the $1,500 pack. I'm like, whoa, hey, he said that very casually. Like, it's like, oh man, yeah, I just started playing Star Citizen like in February, man. I'm having a lot of fun. I only spent $1,100 or $1,500, and it's really good. I'm like, whoa, this guy spent $1,100 since February of this year on this game.
3 months. 3
months. The guy's down $1,100. And like anytime I brought up like that's a lot of money. Like, if what do you think about this? Like anytime I kind of like question Star Citizen in his chat, he would deflect saying, "What are you, an Elite Dangerous player? Elite Dangerous. Fuck that game." Like, all right, bro. I didn't even talk about Elite Dangerous, but it was like so defensive and awkward that you can sink $1,100 to this game, and the game's already missed its release. I mean, their original Kickstarter page said they were aiming for a December 2014 release, so it's already about 4 years late on that. There's still no release date in a persistent universe. I mean, as is, what the game is there are some multiplayer components, but each server is limited to like 50 players. So it's not quite the persistent universe that they promised for a long time. And really, that's the magical experience of Star Citizen. I question whether that's ever going to happen. But as is, the game seems to have no incentive to release because they're raising over $1 million a month. They're up to $186 million in fundraising so far. So I don't know. It just seems like, and this practice of only showing you this $27,000 bundle, the people that already spent $1,000, is so sketchy. I mean, who can defend this? Like, is there anyone out there saying this is like, oh, completely reasonable? Like, there's nothing wrong with this.
I think there's a lot.
Is anybody out there that can say that?
There's a lot of people saying, oh, well, it's optional. It only costs $40, $30 to get in and play today, the current alpha build. And to that, I will say though, I think it's a scam. It's a total scam not because they're not working on some kind of game, because we did see they were walking around and flying the ship, but it's a scam because they're using the scam psychology, okay, against their players. And that's what I mean by scam psychology. When usually when you fall for one of those scams or those Nigerian scams or whatever, where you send like $1,000 to them, and they say they're gonna unlock an inheritance of like $100 million for you, but first they need $1,000, right? Okay, so the gullible guy sends them $1,000, but now the scammer doesn't just quit contact at that point, right? Because they know they got a sucker now. They got the $1,000, they don't quit. What they say is, oh, there was a processing error. Now we need $2,000 more, okay? But then it'll really get to you. It's stuck in London now. It already left Africa, but it's in London now. So $2 more $1,000, and it's gonna go to it's gonna go directly to you. Okay, so the guy says, well, I already paid $1,000. What's another $2,000 to get $1 million? So they send the $2,000. Okay, and they're expecting their money. And of course, the scammer says, oh, I got another $2,000. They don't give up. Why would they give up? They got a super sucker now. They'll say, oh, there was a problem at this. Now you need to send me $5,000 to unlock it. And now the guy feels like he's so invested already. He's already down $3K. If he gives 5K, he'll get his 3K back plus that initial million, that he was promised. So he sends him 5,000, and it just keeps going until the guy runs out of money. They will not stop until they take every dollar from you. So don't think of that $30 initial purchase as like equal access to the game. It's just it's a foot in the door to get your psychology revved up.
What I'm surprised is like why Star Citizen doesn't get as much blowback. I feel like a lot of people kind of just dismiss it as like this joke game, but like look at the blowback EA has gotten over what they did with the microtransactions in Battlefront 2. Like what Star Citizen is doing with $27,000 bundles is beyond reason. Is beyond anything EA would do. Like it just seems like literally the whole internet hates EA because of that. I mean, justifiably so to a degree. But Star Citizen gets more of a pass from a lot of people for some reason. I don't quite understand why that happens. Like why they get a pass. This seems like the way, and the fact that like you said, they're not going to give up. That $30 purchase is your first way to get into the game. There are so many ways that they're monetizing the game. There are people paying a monthly subscription to Star Citizen, and the game's not even out yet. They've had like 4 conventions or maybe more for a game that's not out yet. It just seems like it's absolutely nuts how predatory this pricing system is, and how many people are going to get roped into it. And I think people say, oh, no one's going to buy that, but they do buy that. People do fall for those scams. People do fall for those Nigerian email scams. It wouldn't happen. People don't fall for them. I think the day this came out, there was a big spike in their funding as well. So at least a handful of people have already sunk $27,000 into this.
Oh yeah,
and how is this not going to be pay to win? Like if you spent $27,000 and you're not pay to win, you're going to be fucking upset. I spent $27,000 on virtual ships and I'm not one-shotting this $30 player. I don't know. And I feel like at that point, like this guy deserves to be pay to win.
Oh yeah, and if you go to their website, you can see that they're still making a ton of money. So if you go monthly crowdfunding timeline, they are currently making around $2.6 million a month for this game. They're still raising money, and they're making $2.6 million a month, up to between $2 and $6 million a month is what they're making.
Yeah,
so
it's absolutely nuts. I mean, this just makes it like seem so obvious to me that it's a scam because the way they're pricing these things, and it seems so predatory. It seems so obvious to me, but there are people that just like will swear by this game, and will completely defend it to the ends of the earth. But I mean, there's no timeline for an actual persistent universe release yet. I think they've wisened up and stopped talking about any kind of release dates because the moment they start talking about release dates is the moment they'll be held accountable to things. They don't want to do that. But I'm curious. I'm still hoping something happens, but I'm not holding my breath. I mean, I'm actually less optimistic about Star Citizen than I am about like Chronicles of Lyria now, and that's like one of my lowest, and the totem pole of crowdfunded games.
No, Star Citizen is a scam. I'm doubling down on that.
All right. I mean, I think I'm on the same boat as you. We'll wait and see. But obviously, I don't recommend anybody fund them.
Speaking of shitty Kickstarter projects, there's a new one this week.
It's a good one. It's a good one. We both found this one.
Yes. And to be fair to this guy, I don't think he's scamming us as so much as himself. He's a delusional man, not a con artist, this man. So there's a game called The Flower of Knighthood, which is a very odd name. Kind of has a little bit of a puberty-esque name to it. And
that's what actually I was thinking that as well. Actually, interesting that you thought the same thing.
Yeah. So this guy's asking for what is it, $800,000 or something?
Mm-hmm.
And he's only gotten $3,000, unfortunately. So this is not going to succeed. But he did put a lot of effort, it seems, into this Kickstarter project, and he's basically wants to make a full-fledged MMORPG with realistic physics and 1,000 versus 1,000 battles on the Unreal Engine. Even though
we've seen how good Unreal Engine works with Bless, with even like less than 1,000 players on the screen.
The people who make Unreal Engine, are just getting to terms with 100 player on a map combat in a much less complicated kind of game. With a silly shooter with very few moving parts. They're just now getting it to work well with 100 players. But this guy thinks with $800,000, he can make 1,000 versus 1,000 MMORPG with full, with different, you can do different kind of swing attacks, hit different parts of the body, with all this stuff going on. So he is a delusional man. I will link this so you guys can take a look yourself. It is worth watching. He's clearly a fan of medieval Europe history and swordplay and knights, which is cool, But I think he should have tried to make a simulator where it's maybe just you, single player, against like an AI, and you kind of just dress up with the different kinds of armor and each have different stats, and you kind of do the sword swings with the physics. That could work, and a small studio on Kickstarter could pull that off. But the chance of him pulling this MMORPG off is 0%. No.
0%. I saw this video as well. I think independently of you, we both kind of found it separately from each other. We both watched the full clip. And look, I admire this guy's, you know, like interest in European history, interest in medieval combat, and he's clearly interested in history. But watching this video makes it pretty obvious to me that he doesn't have any understanding of how to make games and how much of an undertaking it is to make a game. And what he shows off is basically some like motion capture and some guys swinging some swords. I mean, to turn that into a fully fledged MMORPG with 1,000 versus 1,000 people combating, crafting, in a persistent MMORPG universe is insane. I mean, he's got no experience doing this. He just really likes online games and he likes this kind of content. But I mean, at least the good thing about this is there's no intent to scam here. I don't think there's any intent to deceive. You think so?
He's deceiving himself. He's scamming himself.
Fine, yeah, fine. He's scamming himself. He's deceiving himself to a degree. He seems like a very earnest dude trying to do something, you know, that he's interested in. But I don't know, bro. Take your energy elsewhere. I mean, I don't want to make fun of this guy because I just think he's misinformed, or he's just, you know, he's going to this with almost some naivety more than anything else. But I mean, no. At the end of the day, he's not going to raise $800,000 or whatever. He's $779,000. He's looking for anyway. So it'll be a no harm, no foul kind of thing.
Yeah, I love this line and his bullet points of what he wants from the game. These are the core game features, guys. Massive PvP and PvE battles. Talk of massive does not mean 100 versus 100. Okay, we want to make it possible to gather opposing armies of 1,000 people. So to him, 100 versus 100, which the creators of the engine he's using cannot yet pull off. Because remember, Fortnite is 100, not 200. So they can't do it properly yet. But he's got to figure it out. He's got 1,000 coming down the pipeline.
And he's got no experience making games either. On top of that. And I think, what did you put down in your notes as like for the segment that you wanted to bring up? Because I thought it was pretty funny.
So for my internal, when I'm looking, you know, when I come across a piece of news or an article or something that I want to talk about in the podcast, I take internal notes for myself. I don't mean to say these to you guys, but for this one, I wrote down the Flower of Knighthood, mentally ill Kickstarter project. And I wasn't gonna reveal that unless Omer asked though. So yeah, this man, he strikes me as earnest, passionate, but also not what
you say mentally was a delusional. That's why, not so much as any other negative.
There's something.
For him.
There's something off about this man.
There's something off. It's throwing you off.
I mean, look at those eyes.
Is it the hairstyle?
He's seen some shit. Look at those eyes. Okay.
All right. He's seen some shit. All right, boys. He's seen some shit. Misguided, and a little bit delusional. I mean, obviously, if you can pull it off somehow, God bless, dude. It sounds like an awesome idea. I mean, it just seems like anytime someone's like, "Oh, why don't we make a game?" but with like 1,000 players on the screen with like the best crafting, you know, like these are like fun ideas, but there's no practicality involved, you know. There's no, it's just like why not put 1,000 versus 1,000? Yeah. Why stop there? Why not do 10,000 versus 10,000? Would that be awesome?
Easy Machiavelli,
yeah, it would be awesome.
Easy Machiavelli in chat says he looks like he hasn't slept in 10 years.
I thought that was he looks like a vampire. Yikes! All right. No personal attacks on this guy. All right.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you, if he asked to come on the podcast to tell you why his idea is feasible, would you let him on?
Sure, I think it'd be fun.
All right.
So this is a gift from the Kickstarter project, guys. So when you attack somebody with your sword to their helmet, this is what the I guess the game engine in the back end will calculate. Okay, guys. If you remember your high school math, these triangles, it's like a cosine or something. I'm not really sure, but
cosine and sine, boys.
He's got this shit figured out. All right.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, you know, Bless can't handle a couple hundred people on the screen, but this game's gonna handle 1,000 versus 1,000, buttery smooth in the same engine. I believe, boys. So over the top. Yeah, that's the thing. It's mega over the top.
All right, I got another fun piece of news I found. Omer and I played a lot of bad browser MMORPGs and /social games in our time. You know, Club Penguin, Neopets, which was a good one, and so on. These have kind of fallen out of the wayside, but some are still up. There was one called Fantage, which is now shutting down. Omer and I did play this, but not a lot. I wonder if anyone out there played it and enjoyed it, but it is now coming to an end.
So you pick up all the ladies, guys, on Fantage. That's where you get the 12-year-olds. No, JK. But this game, only thing I remember of Fantage is that, like, there was a lot of games like this. It was Woo's World was another one. Fantage.
Habbo Hotel.
There was at least like there was like a whole genre of games where the core gameplay, and Club Penguin to a degree as well. The whole gameplay was kind of centered around like just walking around talking with some mini games, right? And it wasn't a bad concept because games like Fantage, Club Penguin, Habbo Hotel, they were almost like a gateway for a lot of players to get introduced to virtual worlds and MMOs, right?
Oh, yeah.
So obviously these aren't the kind of games you play when you're older, but when you're young, like it was a good gateway to playing online games. And it's sad that a lot of these are shutting down now. There aren't that many other, gateway style games. You still have games like Roblox that do really well, but they're not really persistent world MMOs the same way Fantage and other games were. Gaia was another one that Josh has mentioned. That's a good point. Gaia Online,
and
AQ World and stuff. Yeah.
And remember, when we were young, most MMORPGs were still subscription, and a lot of kids, they could not play a subscription game. Their parents wouldn't, sign them up. So for our generation, for young people in our generation, these games were perhaps the only way to play an MMORPG style game for free. So you guys are spoiled these days.
Yeah, but games been around for over 10 years is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's nuts. But yeah, the game. I mean, it's still sad to see it go, and sad to see more of these style games shut down. I mean, there really aren't too many other, online PC games to get people into MMOs. You still have like Wizard 101 and a few other kids games, but these were like the biggest kinds of games. I mean, I remember Fantage had so many players online. Like you just log in, it was unbelievably packed. I mean, I guess maybe the shutdown of Club Penguin kind of got the ball rolling, and all these games slowly shutting down as well.
Oh yeah, and even Habbo shut down now. There's a mobile version, I think. Same with Club Penguin.
Habbo shut down?
I believe so. Let's check.
That's the end of an era.
I know there's a mobile version now. Let's see. Maybe I lied. Maybe it didn't shut down.
I remember when the pools closed thing was like a 4chan raid into Habbo. Like that was when we were in high school, and I remember that kind of unfolding. And one of our friends was kind of like getting involved with that. It was fun times.
I don't know, I think Habbo is still up. So I was wrong about
that.
Yeah,
the game is huge. Habbo's,
my mistake. We'll see how long this.
Can you still make the black dudes with the giant afros?
You probably.
But you can't block people anymore though, unfortunately.
You know how much more hardcore games were in the past? Even our free browser games back then had collision. So today, not even client games have collision.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I actually don't like that. Like you can always walk through people in basically any one of these games. And they do that for like a lot of like anti-toxicity reasons. Because I know like back in the day with Ultima Online, what we would do is like we get 4 friends and we just surround somebody and like he just can't walk through us. Like we just keep him stuck there and we just harass him. Like you can't do that anymore in online games.
No.
Collision definitely opened the door to a lot of bullshit like that though, which in its own way kind of fun, but also obviously I can see why they got rid of it to a degree.
We had another shutdown this week, but perhaps not as dire because so anyway, RuneScape Classic is shutting down. Not to be confused with RuneScape, old school RuneScape. This is the OG oldest version that's been around for
2001 version. Yep.
Yeah. I actually never played this version. I played the
same.
When I tried EverQuest, RuneScape, it looked different than this. I guess it was the old school RuneScape variant I played. I wonder if there was anybody out there defending this version, because I know almost everyone I know, everyone I know who plays RuneScape today, they prefer and defend old school RuneScape over the current version.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's anybody who defends Classic over the other 2 versions.
No, I mean I think the other 2 versions are much more popular, and I think between old school and regular RuneScape, I think the ratio is like 4-1 in popularity for old school RuneScape than modern RuneScape. So I don't think very many people played the classic version. Otherwise, it wouldn't have shut down. I think people should have seen this one coming, because when Jagex shut down FunOrb, they were trying to obviously streamline their efficiency and shut down the things people weren't using. So I think this was the next to the chopping block, and people should have seen that coming. And the reason behind the shutdown, they said, was anti-cheating efforts, because their anti-cheat tools basically don't work for RuneScape Classic. It works for old school RuneScape and regular RuneScape, but this is so old that there's no easy way for them to stop exploits. And instead of basically allowing it like a buggy, exploit-ridden world, they're better off shutting it down. It's still the end of an era and kind of sad to see it go, but fortunately, everyone can still play old school RuneScape or regular RuneScape, so it has no impact on the actual game. But it's still a piece of history.
Yep.
Being shut down for good.
Yep. This UI is some classic stuff. Look at this UI, boys. Wow. Wow.
It's an oldie.
Okay.
So only Arcanist was good on FunOrb. I've actually only played Arcanist a couple times, but I played more Gunbound than Arcanist. That was my classic game.
We got one more piece of shutdown news this week to get it out of the way. Let's see how you feel about this, Omer. So a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember, but Wargaming, the guys behind World of Tanks, they bought a company called Gas Powered Games. They make Dungeon Siege and Supreme Commander. Okay, so they bought them for, like over 5 years ago, I think. But now they shut it down.
Wow.
They had a studio in Seattle with get this 150 employees.
Holy shit!
Working.
They had 100 people work on a new game.
On a new
and
game,
They
were working on a new game for 5 years, and they called it quits. They just shut the whole thing down.
That's unfortunate. 150 people work on it for years. They probably spent a lot of money on that. Holy moly!
That's a lot of money. And I think they were. I had like the name of the project they were working on, or like tentative title for it, but I think I forgot it now, so I can find it.
I mean, assuming those guys were on average paid 50 grand a year, probably more than that because they work in Seattle. So, for multiply that by 50 grand for like 5 years, that's about like $40 million they've already spent on this game that's shutting down, and they got nothing out of it. Ripperino.
So there it is.
Yeah. I'm personally most excited for MapleStory 2 still. I feel like seeing the State of Bless online just kind of reaffirms the fact that MapleStory 2's got a better chance of doing well than Bless.
Do you have is there any update on when we can expect it?
Not yet. My guess is still going to be this summer, earliest when the kids get out of school. Open beta will be happening right around then. So June or July. Probably July is my guess. I don't think it'll be too much longer than that because they want to capture everyone getting out of school. So I don't think it's going to be a big pause because there wasn't really too much wrong with the closed beta anyway. A lot of things are working anyway. The only other really big game we need to touch upon so far is Dauntless. The game reaches 1.1 million players, and it's hard at work at accommodating new players, and there's still pretty big queues to log into the game. I remember when I first started playing, tried to get on Dauntless, it was a 60,000 person queue. People are still hitting 20,000 person queues to just log into the game, and it's off to an unbelievably good start. And I think one of the main reasons for that is there really isn't anything like Dauntless on the PC. Like, yeah, you could say Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter isn't a PC game. And the beauty of Dauntless, it's a free-to-play version of a kind of game we just never had before on the PC. I mean, it's something different, and the fact that it's different is enough for people to start playing it. We've seen so many failed free-to-play PC games. Like, most free-to-play games just fail. Most games fail. And I think one of the reasons, like Hyper Universe, for example, just has nobody playing anymore. It really didn't offer anything different. At least with Dauntless, it's the Monster Hunter experience on PC. Even if you could say it's a subpar Monster Hunter experience, but the fact that you have nothing else quite like it shows people are interested in at least trying it.
I actually don't think it's subpar because I was actually of the opinion that Dauntless would struggle facing off against Monster Hunter Worlds, but it didn't work out that way because when I made that statement, I didn't realize how long it would take Monster Hunter World to come out on PC. And two, after watching streams of people trying to play multiplayer for Monster Hunter on PlayStation, it seems that, the Japanese developer, I believe it was Capcom, they don't know how to do multiplayer properly. Like it's just not a very intuitive.
They have no idea.
It's just a bad setup to play multiplayer on Monster Hunter World. So with that in mind, but even the alpha I played for Dauntless over a year ago now, the multiplayer worked seamlessly. You were in town, you're in the hub world. You just make a party, you queue, and bam, you're there. It was very simple.
The gameplay loop was kind of repetitive pretty early on. I feel like once you played the game for like 4 or 5 hours, you already kind of experienced the gameplay loop. At least in the first alpha that I played. I haven't played the game since the first alpha, and they've added a lot since then because I've been following some of the updates and putting some of the updates on MMOs.com. They've added quite a bit since then, so we will probably do another video for it in the near future.
Yep. As soon as the queues die down, we'll do another video.
Yeah. People saying the queue should be instant now, so that's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have a fun piece of news, guys. So I came across this article. It's not really MMO related, but it kind of has me thinking about Google. Google, I feel like in the past couple of years, has been a little wonky. I feel like they can't decide what they want to do. So this article is titled "Google's 7 YouTube apps and what they do." So did you guys know that Google has 7 different apps for YouTube?
Why?
I don't know why. So there's YouTube.
I didn't know that either.
Right? That's the one I have on my phone, YouTube. Then they have something called YouTube Music. Okay. Then there's something called YouTube Go. YouTube
the
Kids.
Fuck is YouTube Go?
YouTube Go is if you want offline YouTube. So what you do, I guess, is you queue videos while you're at home, and it downloads them temporarily. You can watch them if you don't have access to the internet, like I guess in a subway or something. So YouTube Kids, YouTube Gaming. I didn't know YouTube Gaming had its own app. I knew it was a separate section.
I know that either.
Yeah. YouTube VR, YouTube Studio. So I don't know what the hell.
Why can't these all be rolled into one app?
Yeah, these
silly.
seem like different features that could easily work in one app.
Bizarre.
Yep.
Bizarre. So I mentioned there's also Monster Hunter World for PC. So that's like the only other, I guess, Monster Hunter-like game on the PC. But the thing about Monster Hunter World has always been, one, it's in Chinese. 2, it's actually like filled with Chinese spyware. And I kind of use that term jokingly, but if you install, I actually installed Monster Hunter World because I was doing a video for it for fun, or just I wanted to try it as well. But I actually gave up because after you install the game, it literally installs Chinese spyware on your PC, which is bizarre considering it's published by Tencent. It's published by the biggest gaming company in the world and the biggest gaming company in China. But when you install, you get all these shopping ads. Like after I installed the game, like I would get shopping ads in Chinese on my desktop, like just like unclosable browser would just pop up, telling me I could buy these Chinese products. It was so bizarre that you would like. Imagine installing a game on Steam and when you install it, it just fills your computer with spyware. That's what it was. That's what Monster Hunter World was, which is so terrible. Like it's such a bad experience. I'm actually blown away that Tencent would allow that on their platform, which kind of I guess makes me appreciate like how much better Steam is to a degree than like some of the Chinese alternatives. So that's not really a good, So I guess maybe you can say Dauntless wasn't entirely unique on the PC because you have Monster Hunter World, but Monster Hunter World was unapproachable by basically anyone in the West.
Yeah,
you don't want to deal with that shit.
I'm not counting that. Yeah, it's Chinese only nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Not Monster Hunter World. We're talking about Monster Hunter World is a new one.
No,
Monster Hunter
Online.
Online. Monster Hunter Online. I misspoke. Thank you, Metal Snake. My bad. Monster Hunter Online. That's the Chinese spyware
I'm sure
one.
a lot
Monster
of
Hunter
people
World
don't
is
know
a new
about that.
one.
Let's see if I can find a trailer for that. You did a video, right? You said.
No, I think Gummy did a video a while ago, if I remember correctly.
Let's find out if we have a video for this.
My bad. It's unplayable with the Chinese spyware. It's missing 5 DLLs and won't run. What a world! You install a game that's missing DLLs. I remember the old school days. On Windows XP, when you were missing a DLL, you would just like Google it for the DLL and drop it to your System32 folder, and they would start working. Like, you had to do that with a lot of old games back in the day.
The Chinese got a PC Monster Hunter way before we did. How does it make you
Yeah,
feel?
it's kind of sad. And people that play this say it's okay, but you just don't want to deal with there's no English patch for the game, and this Chinese spyware that comes with it.
Nice.
Runescape Mobile should be happening pretty soon. Actually, there was already a beta test for the iOS version or Android. One of the mobile versions already had a beta test, and I think they said this year it should come out. Old school RuneScape should be playable on mobile by the end of the year. That's like a firm release date, but they don't have a firm release date for a new RuneScape just yet. But old school RuneScape is coming out by the end of the year, and I'm optimistic actually. Hopefully, if RuneScape Mobile does well, it'll kind of send a signal to all the other mobile game developers that making a real MMORPG, not a crap autoplay nonsense like Lineage 2 Revolution, could be a good decision. So I'm really hoping RuneScape Mobile does really well. That they'll kind of hopefully revitalize the mobile MMORPG market, and we won't get just shitty releases.
Yeah, I think they're working on a Final Fantasy 11 mobile as well.
Yes.
That's
Nexon's working on that. I don't know what to expect. Is this going to be a Final Fantasy 11? Is it going to be something else? Who knows? But I'm hoping for some real mobile MMORPGs. Fortunately, I'm still happy to play my MMORPGs on PC. I don't really play any mobile games, really. I used to play Clash Royale, but I haven't touched that game in years. Over a year now. What are y'all thought? You play any mobile games?
No. But I have a funny story about Clash Royale. So I was at the airport lounge, and I was getting some food. And there was this old guy, graying hair. He was sitting with his tablet in his hand. And, I looked over, and he was playing Clash Royale. That was pretty funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's paid to winning. Will you guys try an old school version when mobile comes out? I'm going to play it on mobile just to try it for sure. It might be a good reason to, give it an earnest try. So, probably. Anything else to touch on this week? I think mostly we talked about Bless, but Bless is going to be kind of occupying our minds for a while. And we'll probably do a video for Bless this Friday as well for Grandfest Friday. And we'll play a little Bless after the podcast real soon now.
I think we're ready to play right now. How do you feel about that?
All right. Sounds good.
All right, guys. So stick around. If you're on Twitch, we're going to play some Bless live for you. If you're on YouTube, maybe we'll put up a... Well, I guess we got to wait for Omer's first look. How about that? Or third look, whatever we're on now.
We'll do a Grandfest for it anyway, so I'll probably put that up on there as well.
All right. So take care, guys, and we'll see you on Friday.
All right. Later for YouTube, guys.